Jesus said to his disciples, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the Son of Man. They're eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage up to the day that Noah entered the ark. And the flood came and destroyed them all. Similarly, as it was in the days of Lot, they're eating, drinking, buying, selling, planting on the day when Lot left Sodom. Fire and brimstone rained from the sky to destroy them all. So it will be on the day the Son of Man is revealed. On that day, someone who is on the housetop and whose belongings are in the house must not go down to get them. And likewise, one in the field must not return to what was left behind. Remember the wife of Lot. Whoever seeks to preserve his life will lose it, but whoever loses it will save it. I tell you, on that night there will be two people in one bed. One will be taken, the other left. There will be two women grinding meal together. One will be taken, the other left. They said to him in reply, "Where, Lord?" He said to them, "Where the body is, there also the vultures will gather." The Gospel of the Lord. One of the greatest writers last century in England, never became a Catholic, close to it, was C.S. Lewis. Great writer. I think to be able to interpret the first reading today, the second letter of St. John, is a good idea to have as a parallel read one of the masterpieces of C.S. Lewis, and it's the Four Loves. Now what he does is he takes the four words from Greek for love and he explains them. And they are eros, philia, storge, and agape. So the Greeks actually have four words for love in their language. Part of the problem is we listen to language, but we have misinterpretations of what words are said. Eros would be an erotic love. Philia means a love between brothers, brotherly love, or we have the word Philadelphia. Storge would be the love between a mother and son and daughter, maternal love. And then agape is the word of love where we have the word caritas, or charity, which is self-giving love. I'd like to add to this also what St. Thomas Aquinas says. St. Thomas Aquinas defines love as willing the good of another. Willing the good of the other. What is the greatest good for a person in this world? The greatest good is for him to get to heaven. For him to get to heaven. So if you really love another person, then you're loving what's most important for him, and that is for him to get to heaven. I see a lot of parents here. If you really love your children, and I hope you do, then you should have them baptized as soon as possible. You should teach them to pray as soon as they can speak. You should bring them to First Holy Communion as soon as possible. You should, once they've made their first confession, you should try to bring them to confession as often as possible. Once they've made their first confession, you should bring them to Mass as soon as possible, as often as possible. For example, next week, there are schools that don't have school the whole week, no? How things have changed. When I went to school, you go to school Wednesday until 3:10, and you have Thursday and Friday off, and back to school on Monday. But if the children have the whole week off, there's no reason why you can't bring them to Mass every day, and that's love. That's love. When they're 13, you should bring them to confirmation. We start here 2 years earlier than most parishes. And the origin of this is me and Father Larry. Years ago, I made a comment because I'm the teacher of confirmation. I always have more students for the past 25 years. And I noticed 15 years ago that the kids going from 14 to 15 were worse the second year than the first year. So I talked to Father Larry about this, and we asked Bishop Sartorius if we could start the program 2 years earlier, and he gave us permission. So the kids are coming into confirmation not at 15 but at 13, and there's a huge difference. So parents that really love their children should bring them to receive the sacraments as soon as possible. This is love. This is love that St. John is talking about. So ask yourself, do you really love? If you really love, you're going to do all you can to get to heaven. You're going to do all you can to bring your children to heaven. This is, you started meditating upon, this is principle and foundation that I taught most of you about. Another name for love is principle and foundation. Okay, I only have a couple minutes, but I'd like to just mention a word or two. We celebrate two saints today. One is St. Margaret of Scotland, and another is one of the most brilliant women saints in the Catholic Church. Somewhat like the saint that we celebrated yesterday. Yesterday we celebrated St. Albert the Great. Very rarely does the Church give as a title, next to the title Great. Today we celebrate St. Gertrude the Great, who was one of the greatest women intellectuals in the Catholic Church. She wrote Herald of Divine Love. She was one of the great precursors of devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She lived about 300 years before St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. And she was a great visionary. So I'd like to tell you, conclude my homily with one of my favorite stories in the life of this saint. St. Gertrude was praying, and she had a vision of Jesus in heaven. Jesus was dressed in white, and Jesus had a pile of coins, of gold coins. And she finished the prayer, and Jesus was placing this glimmering, beautiful gold coin on the top of a huge pile. And she said, "Jesus, what are you doing? What are those gold coins? What does that mean?" And he said, you have a huge pile of gold coins. And he just placed another beautiful, shimmering, glittering gold coin on the top of the rest. What are those gold coins? Every gold coin is when you pray the Hail Mary with great love. How many people here want to be multi-billionaires in heaven? You want to be a multi-billionaire in heaven. You know what Mary loves? Mary loves the Hail Mary. But you know what she loves even more? She loves the Rosary. Mary loves the Rosary even more than the Hail Mary. You know why? Because you say it 50 times rather than one time. So pray as often as you can that beautiful prayer, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, and you'll be rich millionaires in heaven. Amen.